Here we are. It's Jamestown. It's a living museum in Virginia. I think it was founded in 1606. I believe that's the date. John Smith, Virginia. And we're going to go on a tour. An archaeological tour.
Oh yeah, now I'm
going past this guy. Oh yeah?
Amazing, some of that stuff they found was like
It's supposed to be a living museum as well, similar to Upper Canada Village. Some of the writings stated that most of Jamestown is buried. There will be very little remaining for us to see. (1607 to 1624). It's hard to believe they built this though.
Hey, it's been back you for a while.
Up might be in the middle there. No, really, right there. Really? No, right there. Right here.
We just had a nice talk from one of the archaeologists who actually are working on the site, and now she's taking us to a live recent excavation, probably from some of her colleagues, and it's a well that they found. There's very little original fort or church. Most of this has been reconstructed. And they said there were over 4 million artifacts that they've unearthed and preserved, mostly metal. $400 years is a very long time.
easier to see from up the hill, but you're looking down in All right, this is Natalie Reed. She's one of our field archaeologists, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what they're seeing in these units.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm going to go through real quick all the different things that are happening here because there are a lot. So the first step is, why did we come over here? We've always had in our records this map on my hat right here. You'll see it used as our logo everywhere. And there's been theories pretty much since the beginning of the project that this little flag, if you can see it, it's also on Emma's tour bag, that the flag coming off of the northern corner is actually not a flag at all, but a structural thing. We don't know what, but we've always thought it could be a representation of something more than just a flag. But we didn't have any confirmation about that. But we did ground penetrating radar, and we saw something that comes out from the northern corner of the fort through the path this way. It hits those units that are covered up behind you, then it hooks to the left, and it has an enclosure. So that looks a lot like our flag, and it's on the same sort of off-kilter angle. So once we had confirmation that the ditch did in fact exist over there, spoiler alert, it's a ditch, then we came over here because archaeology is destructive. Once you dig out some feature in the ground, you can't do it again. So you have to be very careful and very choosy about what you want to do and what you actually want to dig into. At times, we have a lot of different disturbances on the island throughout time. So we have Civil War occupation, we have farming. Those things will disturb archaeological material. However, sometimes it's actually a good thing. So our ditch runs north-south. In 1861, Confederates occupied the island and they forced enslaved people to build an earthwork fort. That's this ridge that you see behind me. It's just a big pile of dirt that it was actually a lot on top of Jamesport. This is what's left of it right now. And on the outside, they dig a dry moat. So the dry moat that they dig is going east-west, our ditch going north-south, which means that in this area, it had already been cut through. So if we came back and dug out the dirt that filled in the moat after 1861, we'd be able to see the side view of our ditch. And that would be really interesting for us because our GPR survey can tell us roughly how deep things are, roughly what you might see in them, but you need to ground truth it. You need to be able to actually see it in the dirt and confirm your results. But once we got to the bottom of the Confederate moat, we expected to see a nice ditch profile like you would cut into a cake and see all the different layers. Instead, we found this as well. This is a well. This is not the surface of it. This is probably about 10 or so feet down because it was chopped through in the construction of the moat. This actually cuts through our early ditch feature. We believe that the ditch was here from about 1608 to 1610. We believe this well cut through it in this area at around 1617. This was a complete and total surprise, and Emma can tell you all about how wonderful the bottom of wells are for artifacts and preservation. But right now what we're doing is we're excavating the section of the ditch that we have all the way back to the wall. The people up there can see it really nice and clearly, but if you can't, it's in the picture behind me in the photo over there. So we're excavating this out, and we've got a lot of really cool Native American ceramics out of it, very early artifacts, but we're doing that in order to dig out the well. Once we dig the ditch and we finish up that excavation, we're actually in the process of constructing a whole well ring and a deck so that we can dig down the 6 feet till we get to the bottom. And that's what's going on over here. We'll be here all summer.
All right, let's see. If anyone has like 1 or 2 questions for Natalie, now is the time to ask them, because otherwise I'm going to have us backtrack into the fort.
How do you think they found where the well was?
So the way that we found the well was because we got to the very bottom of the Confederate moat, and I had a shovel, and I was coming across, and I hit a brick. And the very bottom of the moat over here, right, this had absolutely no artifacts in it for about 1.5 feet, and it was just sand. So hitting a brick at this level was very weird, and I took across even more. You saw the rest of the bricks, and that's how we discovered it was here. We actually had absolutely no idea that it was at the bottom of the Confederate earthwork moat.
How deep? You said 6 feet. Is that how more deep the well is, or it took 6 feet to get to the well?
We have 6 more feet left of the well.
And how do you know? How do you know that?
We run ground penetrating radar again over the surface of the bricks, and we saw the walls of the well down to about 6 feet.
Did you see any metal objects, or she was saying there might be something down there, artifacts?
Right, there may be something down there. We didn't get a clear result for the interior of the well, but we saw the walls of it very, very nice.
Good.
we are bracing ourselves inside in the lab for just in case it is absolutely chock full of artifacts. I'm going to tell you about some features inside the fort, including a well that we're absolutely full of artifacts, but we also have a well that we call the empty well. So we'll see what they end up with. We're also very excited. You know, wells, the anaerobic conditions where it's waterlogged and there's no oxygen for things to rot, that can preserve really cool artifacts like leather. We have shoes in the collection that came out of wells, but it can also preserve really tiny things like tobacco seeds. So even if the well looks like it's empty, we're still going to run some samples of the soil to see if there's any, you know, little teeny tiny bits of plants in there that can tell us about what was going on while the well was open. So even empty wells aren't truly empty, we hope. But we're still waiting to see which way that well is gonna go. We're very excited. A little nervous, but very excited. All right.
We're in Colonial's Williamsburg,
I do too.
and there are people dressed in
Well, and then they'll ask you if you do unpaid, they'll ask like a Corona Sunday.
those.
Yeah.
Those actually look like recreations. I like to see the originals. This is the site of the first theater. First theater in Williamsburg. Look at the stage. You can go into this one. Quite a theater. You might want to get off this, your sneakers are going to get horrible. I can see the church from here. See the steeple? I'm assuming that's...
They can't charge you for walking around. because
Nope,
of
public streets.
You pay
Yeah.
taxes for it.
Yeah.
Well, you can't go inside unless you have a...
Some place they said the gardens in the back. Like right here, you could probably go in the gardens in the back of the house. Yeah, the backs of the gardens are fair game. And they're not that. Yep, that keeps it closed.
Without original technology,
Yeah.
and look at the garden.
Oh, nice. Very nice. This is pretty. No, I'm being serious though. This does look like some original here. Maybe not all of it, but maybe this first part right here. We got some nice tulips. Different colored tulips. Yellow, red, white. And there's the butter.
Get married here.
Told you about the buttercups.
The buttercups.
Yeah, our brides, they call them, there's another name for the yellow ones. I love these things right here. I forget what they're called. Well, I'm glad that we got to come here. Take a close-up of the bumblebee. Oh, shoot. No, they won't bite you. You know why? Because when they sting you, they die. Bumblebees do, yeah. They only have one stinger. That's it. It's death for them. Not
Those are smaller ones. I don't think we can. North England Street.
Look at this tree. Daniel, this tree is like freaking 300 years old, I bet. How old is it? I bet it's 300 years old. Guaranteed it's like 300 years old. How? Oh, it doesn't work.
I got an error.
Let's see.